Ready for it.
Thrilled for it.
Presenting Franks with Turbo Booster Jet Engine.
Nexa.
Dharamsala, lots of runs is what we expected. Lots of runs is what we've got in the first game of this season here. 236 for 5. It's only the second highest score in IPL history at Dharamsala. So we look back at an innings from Prabhsimran yet again. Strong finish, lots of sixes. What could LSG have done? On Nexa presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout. Ambati Rayudu, Katey Martin, Matt Roller. What did we predict before this game? You said?
I think I said 220, which looks a bit low now.
220.
240.
240, very good. Rayudu, you and me both. And Katie?
All the twos.
Yeah, 222.
And you went up to 250 though, right?
I was a miss. The rules say the first answer is the final
Which
answer.
rules are they?
The ones I was writing at the end. 236, lots of sixes. Advantage Punjab?
Yeah, I mean, but that's a small ground. If Puran and Marsh get going, nothing's enough on that ground.
Oh, okay. What's the story on the six hitting today? We've seen 11, 13, 16 sixes to go with 18 fours, I think.
Yeah, absolutely relentless, really. Punjab's first time they've passed 200 at this venue since 2011, which tells a bit of a story about, well, I suppose their recent record there as much as anything. But yeah, I think that it was the relentlessness of the scoring, especially in the second half of the innings. I think Digvesh bowled that over that went for 8 right at the death. But other than that, everything went for 9, 10, 20. Everything was double figures near enough. So yeah, having set a decent foundation in the power play, they then really doubled down on it in the middle and at the end.
Kitty.
Yeah, it was almost like a perfect tempo innings, wasn't it? The way that they started, the accumulation in a low-risk fashion with probably some poor bowling that was a bit short into the wicket. But one thing that stood out for me is 4 out of the 5 dismissals, the next delivery, the batter coming in, their first ball was a boundary. So that would just show, 5 wickets lost. Just the straight away, just whether it's an intent that Ricky Ponting has put into his team to say straight away go and take it back out on the bowler, whether it's a fact the foundation's set, but that was clear and evident that, you know, that just that release slightly potentially as well. So,
yeah, I think, and also the start, Mayank Yadav has not been able to give them good starts. Even against MI, he struggled. He was bowling too short. And even today, I think that's got to do with his action maybe. Maybe he's not just bending his back enough to really release it in front. Maybe, you know, I think they have to open the innings at least with someone else other than Mayank.
I want to spend a little more time on that. I know we'll talk about the batting and the six hitting in Prabhsimran, but Mayank Yadav's big story for Lucknow. They waited a long time to get him into the 11. None for 60 today. You're saying it's something to do with the action? Lack of pace is something we're seeing and observing?
Yeah, I think lack of confidence more than lack of pace, because once you're coming back from an injury, it's hard to, I mean, to really bend your back and get back at your best, because we have seen Archer took 6 months to, you know, be back at his best, and he's a young boy. It must be the first time that he's gotten injured. So I think it'll be tough if we say he's not performing, but also LSG might have just shown some desperation to just get him into the mix. Maybe he's not ready yet.
Yeah, do you sense a bowler who's perhaps not confident or secure of his body coming back from injury?
yeah, it seems like that. Bowling is such a rhythm thing, and if you want to feel confident getting through the crease. You were spot on with Archer. Remember the first game in the tournament and then how we went from there. And when the indications are that the pace is so significantly, I mean, 6 or 7K on average down, that would indicate that he's not getting through the crease as well as he would like, and he doesn't have that confidence or the rhythm just yet in his bowling.
I've actually forgotten just how little IPL cricket Mayank's played. I think he only played 4 games last year.
Broke down in the 4th.
And played 2 this year. So much as there's, you know, rightly huge expectations because he was so exciting, he burst through at such pace, those 2 match-winning performances right at the start. It's also, you know, it's tough position that he's been put in by the franchise to some extent, that they've got him as the leader of the attack near enough, him and Avesh, when he's a 22-year-old with very, very little experience.
Yeah, I think even the 11 crore retention was with more hope than anything, that we'll keep his body ready and fit, and he doesn't play any long-form cricket, got capped for India and didn't also sort of complete that series properly either. So it's hard work for Mayank Yadav.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
You guys would have noticed the crease. It looks like they've taken quite a lot of grass off, but in the crease it's very green.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe in the back of Punjab's mind they were like, well, we don't want to have too much of an impact. We've talked about wickets all tournament, but whether they didn't want to take that factor out and maybe potentially that the only one spinner used in terms of Markram didn't bowl either, so there was only one spinner used, that maybe that Lucknow thought there was going to be a little bit more in the wicket potentially than it was, but because that grass got taken out, there wasn't that same pace as well, so maybe that meant that he wasn't also as effective alongside his lack of rhythm.
Yeah, lack of rhythm, and also pitch didn't support his style of bowling either. There was not much grass on the surface, but it was not bare. There was a little bit of it. It was dead grass. Generally, Dharamsala, when it is bare, does help the spinners just a fraction. We have seen a few balls grip of the Digvesh Rathi, especially the one Shreyas Iyer got out to.
Yeah.
So I think maybe they could have used another spinner for sure on this pitch, and also they could have batted first if they were smart enough.
So it doesn't look like a good selection right now, you're saying, the absence of Bishnoi. I'm also surprised.
Not Bishnoi, but use of another spinner in the middle, a finger
Markram
spinner.
could still have come
Yeah,
on.
could have still.
Even with the right-handers, because they also changed things up. They sent Josh Inglis in at 3 and kept Vadera down. And like Katey says, they kept going. There was relentless boundary hitting batting there.
I mean, that's some amazing intent shown. And also, somehow I feel Punjab, there. I know you don't like a pass score. I think because except for Prabhsimran, if Shreyas or English would have gotten going, I think they would have actually posted 15 or 20 runs more on this pitch.
That's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah, that's why he said 250.
14 more is what I thought. It's probably 14 below par there. Right. Prabhsimran Singh, 91 of 48, and now we are certainly looking at his best season, his most prolific IPL season.
We are. I think one of the big things is that he's just had that ability to kick on through the middle overs and against spin, which he's not had previously. He's striking at 180 outside the power play this year. It was 150 last season, and he's scoring at 175 against spin when it was 137 last season. So 2 huge strides, and I think that's made him a much more rounded player than someone who was just playing that very specific role of go hard at the top.
How much do you think Ricky Ponting's had an impact on him? You feel that he's matured as a batter, the tactical nous that he's got, and I was talking to Haydos and he was saying about Ricky Ponting thinks he's absolute gold dust, this kid, the talent and the class that he's got. And it was just around getting a little bit more of that tactical nous to go, okay, maybe it's around absorbing a little bit of pressure, it's around understanding conditions, which we've seen. I think that shift in him, it's not just all-out aggression. And I think, again, tonight we saw that timing, we saw a nice tempo in the way that his innings had and allowed that foundation, then others just to strike around him.
Yeah, I think Ricky Ponting joins a long list of Punjab coaches that have changed in perhaps the job, but one thing they've had in common is how highly they rate Prabhsimran Singh. Anil Kumble was here and said we retained him purely on promise. Wasim Jafar said this is as talented a batter that I have worked with if he just gets clarity in his game. Are we now seeing Prabhsimran live up to the potential of his promise this season?
I mean, yeah, at least for this season we have seen that, but definitely his consistency needs to improve. I feel his shot selection too, sometimes is found wanting, because I come from a different school of thought, south of India, Chennai, Mumbai. So we love a little more classic sort of a game, but he is very, very talented, he is good, he is flamboyant, but today, don't forget, he was also dropped once.
Yeah,
at mid-off. So these are the kind of things he can eliminate from his game, because when it is not in your range, maybe just try and take a single. When it is in your range, please go for it. So I think that's the clarity that he needs to get in his
It does
batting.
strike you as a proper 6-hitter. 6 hitting seems easy for Prabh. It's fair to say, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what gets people sold in the auction these days on the basis of how many sixes you can hit and how easily you can hit a 6. So I think that's a great advantage for a batsman to have, but also, being an opener or a top order batsman, you also need a lot of batsmanship going into May. I mean, we are in May, wickets are going to slow up. There's going to be a lot of challenge from spin as well as slow ball. So he needs to adapt. Once he does that, like we have spoken about Ray and Parag, these guys are extremely talented, but are they ready yet to don the Indian colours and play for India, or at a level where you are the match winner or people are banking on you for a 600-run season? So that is what still...
Rayudu sets high standards.
Do you remember...
But that's 350s in a row now.
Well, I was going to say, do you remember about 2 weekends ago they played that game against RCB in Millipore, where I think the first ball outside of the power play he picked out long on, And we were saying exactly that. This is where he needs to improve. So I think to have then had that consistent run since then suggests to me that he's worked it out for himself, or someone's had a word and has said maybe that wasn't the right option then, but I think he's improved through the middle since then.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that might be Ricky Ponting in his ear saying that, as an opener, you need to get us those big 50s or 100. Because as an opener, that is very, very important. And he's been delivering that. But will you put your life on the line in a finals when you need 250? And can you say it with absolute assurance that his head will be in the right place? So, that is what I'm saying. He needs to be a little more mature. He will get there.
I wonder
in a year or two, he'll be a pure and a true match winner.
I wonder if even just making him the senior partner in the opening pair has had an impact. He's always opened with a gun overseas, by and large, or with a very senior Indian player like a Shikhar Dhawan and that likes. And suddenly you put Priyansh Arya there, and Ponting says, probably you're the senior guy over here now, and Prabh's playing responsibly. Anyway.
I still feel when they're going into the business end, Stoinis needs to open. He needs to open with Prabh or Priyansh.
Right. Fair enough.
If they have to win the IPL.
Fair enough. But with 450s, and might I say, 4 crore uncapped retention, he's proving to be value for money. Never entered the auction, Prabh. So he's not thinking about that yet. We'll see if that changes at the end of this season. Now, on days like this, Katey, we often hear the term defensive bowling. Let's set defensive bowling plans. Let's minimize boundary options. It didn't seem like Lucknow had anything under control towards the end. And I think the frustration even showed on Rishabh Pant's face.
Yeah, the execution just wasn't there. If you look at the wagon wheel, the amount of boundaries that were hit square of the wicket, and there's always a longer boundary at Dharamsala, so you just didn't feel like they were hitting down the ground as much aerially. It was a lot square of the wicket, and that was just those slower deliveries into the wicket. The wide hole plans that they didn't quite execute in terms of the fullness of those deliveries. So I think when they look back and look at the areas that they were hit, especially from different ends, I think that's probably what they'd be disappointed about.
Yeah, I mean, Avesh is one of the form bowlers.
Yeah, and also why Avesh struggled is, grounds like Wankhede and here, pitches like Dharamshala, which have a lot more bounce than the usual Indian wickets. It's harder if you just miss your length by, say, 4 or 5 centimeters. It can go because of the bounce. And that's why you see so many shots hit over third man. I mean, hit over point.
Yeah, you're just carving them, squeezing them out.
Because there is bounce, you can get underneath them.
You can bowl good length, but if you bowl the back of the end of good length, which they did, versus the fuller end of the good length, it is a massive difference.
I want to talk a little more about Shashank Singh, maybe get into more detail about Avesh Khan and even Digvesh Rathi, who is at least true to his celebration. It doesn't matter if it's 20 for 2 or 232 for 4. Rathi is going to sign off as he normally does. But for now, let's try and predict what can happen in the second innings. Do you expect Punjab Kings coming out with better bowling plans?
I think so, and I think someone like Janssen to me feels like a key option on a surface like this, given the height he has, given that he's probably going to be someone who gets steep bounce. I think if he has a good night, then that will go a long way, and especially given how reliant we know LSG are on the top 3.
I wonder that because I saw Prabh walk out in the huddle as well, and he's usually the impact sub out, certainly after playing 18 and a bit overs, whether they're just holding their cards here and not activating the impact sub just yet. Their options, I think, are Vaishak,
Harpreet Brar as well.
But they won't bring more spin.
They won't bring Harpreet Brar on if Puran's still there, I don't think.
So maybe that'll be the call, to see if Puran is dismissed in the first 7-8 overs. Do you see that as a wise move, or Vaishak should be the way to go?
No, I think it's a wise move. We have seen them use Vaishak against GT in the first game, but here Brar might be more effective.
Interesting. Okay. Marsh, Markram, Puran, certainly lots on them. Pant after that?
Yeah, I think you need to give him an opportunity with the pace of this wicket. I think it'll suit him the fact that he's so strong square of the wicket. Puran's going to be interesting. He's been dismissed by seam a lot of times, but I think the matchup with Chahal, with the fact that he bowled so wide to him and got him out, actually caught at that cover, whether that works in his favour in terms of the dimensions of this ground or not will be seen. So I think they'll look to try and go as full and as defensive and try and tuck him in as early as he can with those left-handers. I think that'll be challenging for Puran early.
This could be fun. This is going to be fun. There are going to be some sixes hit.
You were spot on. If Puran gets going, and Marsh, I mean, we've seen Marsh score 150 in the Big Bash. I mean, they are match winners as well.
I'll give you one ball before we go to predictions. All right. Slip in place. Harshdeep's got a little bit of movement. First ball. Mitch Marsh is impacted in, no surprises. Markram's facing. Let's get predictions. Forecaster, 85% to the Kings. So that's as simple as it gets, I guess. Ambati Rayudu, prediction?
I'm going LSG
Wow.
on this pitch.
Katey Martin.
Do you know what? I'm going to go Pooran scoring 100. Marsh getting nicked out to slip from one of the left-handers.
Pooran 100.
And someone's going to win within 5 runs, but I don't know who it is.
Oh, my God. If Pooran gets 100, I think I'm going to force you to say that it's going to be LSG.
No, I think even Rishabh Pant is going to come good tonight.
Oh, really? 40 plus, 50 plus? Pant prediction would
Yeah,
be?
50 plus, a quick 50.
Quick 50, yeah. Matt?
And Punjab by 50.
You know, Roller, I'm going to be with you on this one.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if those who've played the game versus those who've not played the game, what happens in this little contest on the couch. For now, we still think this game is alive with 236 on the board and 85% on forecaster, but Pooran is Pooran, and he wouldn't mind hitting a few at Dharamsala. Join us at the end of the game where we'll welcome your comments as well on Nexa Presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout.
Ready for it.
Thrill for it.
Presenting France.